The best years do not have to be behind you. And as we were saying earlier, there's no time like now to get started on creating that future that you really desire. It can take a bit of effort, but having the support and having a community can be incredible, incredible support, particularly if people become friends with you and you with them. It's very possible. There's no reason to think that your best years are behind you. You get this information from wherever, that your future has to be like this. But if you, in fact, can break free of those limiting beliefs that your future forward is not as good as your future behind you, it's limitless. We only have one life. And if you think about the fact, let's just use this as a quick example. So let's say the person is 60, right? And today the longevity could be 100, right? For many people, you still have 40 more years. You have almost as many years as was from the case of when you were a teenager till now, right? Those 40 years from 20 to 60, you have that same length of time. It's a long time, and this is your only life. And so don't give up. It's so possible. And all of our clients will tell you exactly that. We're not unique. We're not special. We're just people who are treating our bodies and our minds really well.
Beautiful. Excellent. Load the hamstrings, load the glutes. Beautiful. Excellence. 4, money. 5, good bar path, good bar speed. 6, yes. 7 and 8. 7. Uno más. Put it right down. Just go and put it right down. Excellent job.
Yes! Oh my God!
Wow.
Welcome to Age of Reinvention. Redefine freedom, lifestyle, and purpose at midlife. I'm your host, Emily Bron. Today, we are embarking on a journey that encapsulates transformation, resilience, and the pursuit of holistic health and fulfillment beyond 50. We are joined by Dr. Karin Falkenberg, a vanguard in health and fitness for accomplished professionals, co-founder of Tiger Eye Life, and a visionary who infuses the hard sciences with the human touch of psychology and neuroscience. From holding patents in solar cell technology to inspiring future generations as an educator, and finally reshaping the health and fitness industry for mid and later career individuals, Karin's story is nothing short of remarkable. Throughout her life path, Karin reinvented herself many times, personally and professionally, and continues to do so in her 60s. Today, she will share how she is leveraging her vast expertise to create life-changing frameworks and nurture a community where fitness breeds freedom. Get inspired by Karin Falkenberg's incredible journey and invaluable insights. So let's discover ways to reinvent and enrich our lives with intention and joy. Dear Karin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Emily, for having me. I am honored to be here and appreciate the opportunity to share my story with your guests. I'm looking forward to our time together.
So am I, and for the long time, and I know how busy you are, and I'm very grateful you found time actually this Sunday day morning for you to be with me, with us now. Karin, you have incredibly diverse and rich background. You transition from research chemical engineer with patent on solar cell technology to educating future generations and finally to health and fitness for midlife professionals is incredibly inspiring. Can you share, please, what inspired you in your latest personal and professional reinvention into health and wellness. Why this change happened?
Oh, thank you for asking me that question. And I will tell you that what spurred me on, and let me back up and say, one of the driving forces of who I am and what I do is about connection. So I connect ideas to ideas, I connect people to ideas, and I connect people to people. So I'm a problem solver, and I'm always looking for what else can I do to support others in their journey? How can I help them be their best? So whether I'm a teacher, whether I'm a coach, whether I'm a researcher, all of that is really intended to help people. And so here's how I came to be what I'm doing now at the age of 67. When I was 61, I was in a very serious car accident where I was at a stoplight, rear-ended by somebody, and I got an incredibly bad concussion. I was under the care of a brain doctor for 6 months. And in the process of getting healthy again, or getting healthier than I was, because at that point when I had the accident, I wasn't as healthy as I wanted or needed to be. I realized that as I was learning to re-walk in a straight line again, as I was learning how to have better balance, that I needed to get myself stronger. And there's a backstory for why that was important to me at the time. But I wanted to get stronger. And so I drove myself to a gym, and the doors to a future for me just opened. I had not been somebody who was in a gym on a regular basis. I had gone to fitness centers and had done quite a lot of aerobic activity and so forth. But when I learned how important strength training was to both healing me and then providing me with an opportunity to help others do the same and have that same transformation for themselves, I said, this is really where I'm ready to take my life.
Very inspiring. And even I kind of knew your story, but I believe these details and we will speak about it even more. Your work with select group of Dalai Lama's lead monks and nuns in Dharamshala to explore the intersection of Western science and Tibetan Buddhist tradition must have been profound. I didn't know before about this chapter of your life, but now I'm interested also how have these experiences influenced your approach to health and fitness, particularly in relation to mental and emotional well-being.
Oh, such a good question. So that was in the summer of 2008. And the group of people that I was with were there on the request of the Dalai Lama to help his lead monks and nuns begin to understand Western science more. They, as Tibetan Buddhists, were very scholarly. Many of them studied hours and hours a day, let alone hours per week. And part of my research was to find out from them, as they were learning from others about Western science, physics, chemistry, mathematics, did they believe that what they were hearing was in any way aligned with what they themselves had learned as a scholar in Tibetan Buddhism? And what they told me was, oh my goodness, of course. Yes, when the professors were talking about the atom and all of the small intricate parts of an atom, could imagine that because I see that every day in my training where we have to just go inward and inward and inward and inward and really examine our own selves and examine ourselves at the molecular level. And so, though I've just now heard recently here in this summer training about how Western people imagine science or know science to be, it's exactly 100% in agreement with the trainings that we've had. It was really impressive. And what I'll say is the communication was really interesting too, because there were these people as scholars were in some cases, they didn't speak any English, or they spoke some English, but not a lot, or even in their own Buddhist language, in the Tibetan language, there were not even words that represented some of the concepts that the professors were teaching them. And so the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives had to translate. That the professor would talk about a concept, and then the translator would provide context and explanation for what they had just heard. And then those scholars had to interpret what it was that the translator was saying. And so when I had my interviews with them and I was doing my research, I often had to have a translator help me get my ideas and questions across to those who I was working with.
Just remind me, I was follower for some time of John Kabat-Zinn, and you probably know this American scientist who at the same time was and still pursuing mindfulness meditation techniques. And actually, he is one of the first who tried to build the bridge between Western science, but from the different perspectives, psychology, biology, and Buddhist practice. But your approach, as far as I know, and you can elaborate, it's more in regards to the physical well-being, which actually lead to mental and emotional well-being as well. Yes. So like in your and I'm a little bit jumping in, but I'm just interested in your programs. Are you speaking about meditation, about different techniques of this kind? It's whatever West get from the Buddhist traditions.
That's a great question. And so let me back up and say a little bit more about what is really a undergirding and a foundation for the way my business partner, who is Ryan McQueen, and I work. And it's easy to be living in the United States and presume that the center of knowledge is really Western knowledge, is Western medicine, is Western science. And that ignores the thousands of years of expertise and wisdom that come from other cultures, from other locations around the world, and for centuries back. And so, one of the really important things that we focus on is that there's only so much that any one methodology can provide for us. And so, we really need to expand our thinking and expand our approach to how to be as healthy as possible, whether it's mental health or whether it's physical health. All of these are really important, and we can get stuck if we only think that there's a single path forward. That I believe, and I would say Ryan believes as well, is just not true, right? It's just not true.
Your personal journey to becoming optimally healthy is motivational. What were some pivotal lessons you learned about yourself during this transformative period?
Oh, what a good question. So I would say I'm a fairly introspective person and I have a fairly clear idea of who I am and what I can and can't do. My life is often based on challenge, right? I like challenge. I like to push the boundaries to see what am I able to actually accomplish, whether it's in an academic setting, whether it's in a physical setting, whether it's in a social setting. I really like to understand who I am and what more is possible for me. That is a big driver. So, what I would say is, in terms of what I learned for myself, was that the methods that and so this goes to your former question, right? The methods that I had been using to be what I thought was my healthiest, but weren't really getting me where I needed to be, were insufficient. They were just insufficient. And so, what I'll tell you is, in the United States, as an American woman, and I was born in 1957. So, for those of your listeners or viewers, they would say, that's so long ago. That's right. The fact is, in the United States, one of the real narratives for women was that you should be thin and that you should use aerobics to try to control your weight, and that the diet culture can be particularly rampant. And so, what happens in the United States is a lot of women follow that and they equate if I eat this food, then I need to run on the treadmill these many minutes to try to counterbalance that sort of balance sheet. And what I came to realize was there are serious flaws in it. And I knew that there were serious flaws because as I went through menopause, I was looking at my body and I was feeling what my body felt like. And I thought, this just, I am trying to be my healthiest, but this is just not getting me there. And then when I realized that strength training was a really important and absolutely necessary component for all people's health, but particularly for us as we age. That was a piece of this transformation for me. And what I have really pledged my life to work on is to help people not be in that same trap that I was in and having no ideas about how to really make the change that I needed and wanted. As a busy professional, I It wasn't that I had lots and lots of time, but I needed the right strategies and I needed effective strategies that were efficient. So that's I think a big part of this transformation for me is exactly that, recognizing that there are ways to go forward that are not often obvious to people, and they have the opportunity to learn from somebody else who's gone through that. That's really where I am right at this point.
And it's actually a nice segue for my next question. Tiger Eye Life emphasize a unique actions framework. Could you elaborate, please, on how this framework empowers midlife clients, people, to achieve vibrant health and optimal energy?
Sure. I'm happy to talk about the actions framework. And you, Emily, may have experienced this where you might be on social media and you think, I want to follow this influencer. They probably have really good ideas about how to be healthy. And then I'll follow another influencer and then another influencer. And then it's your
Not me. It's not me, but many people. Yes. I'm reading books. Yeah, I'm
or self-help books is another perfect example, whether it's not social media and it's in how many people have these libraries of self-help books, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 books, and they're always searching for what's really necessary for me. And so the actions framework, which I can describe in just a minute, is the opportunity to have everything pulled together so that the next best step for yourself is really evident to you. It doesn't have to be the next best step for everybody. We don't have a program that is lockstep that everybody follows one after the other steps, but there are a lot of details around the science of what is the next best thing for somebody to do, right? And so the actions framework is an acronym and it stands for these things. So A, it stands for take action, right? And then C is for consistency. And what we know is one of the biggest drivers of success is just showing up and trying, just consistent trying. Now, it's better if you're trying what's effective, but we want you to just keep moving forward and trying, right? So A and C, and then T stands for training and it stands for trimming. And so those two things mean this: when we think about generally in the world of getting fitter, we think about exercise as this collective, right? It's just I'm moving my body and I'm exercising. But in fact, with training, we're talking here in the actions framework about strength training. And let me take a minute and describe what that means and why that's important. So, when everybody gets over the age of 30, we start to lose muscle just by the fact of we're aging. It We lose muscle year on year, and so as we get older, if we don't intentionally put muscle back on our body through strength training, then what inevitably happens is you look down the street, you're at a shopping center, you're somewhere on the downtown somewhere, and you see these people who are old and they have walkers and they're stooped over and they have trouble just getting up one or two or three stairs. They've lost so much muscle that their body is not capable of propelling them around and having a really healthy life. And if you lose a lot of muscle, it also means that your joints are less supported to be able to function correctly, so you again then have problems because you're unable to have the quality of life that you want. So training is very specifically strength training as opposed to let me just exercise. Let me walk out on the street, which is great. Let me walk in a treadmill, which is great. Let me all of the things that feel like general exercise. So strength training is specifically training to be stronger. Full stop. That's what that means. Now trimming, I think probably everybody will recognize this. If you really were very honest and you scan through your day all day long, what you've done, is there some sort of slop? I'll call it slop. Is there some slop? Is there some unintended, I'm checking out and I'm going to scroll on social media or I'm going to pick up a book or I'm going to zone out and watch a television show? There are inevitably minutes in the day where if you redirected those and you trimmed some of that time away, that you could have enough time to work on your health, right? So that's what the T stands for. So in the actions framework, so we said A for take action, C for consistency, T for training and trimming. I is about identity, right? And what's really important, and this goes back to your earlier point about mental health and emotional health. And so do you think of yourself as a healthy person is what we ask our clients to think about. And if you don't think you're healthy, then can you be an aspiring healthy person? And what really helps people move forward in their actions is they, given a choice between A and B, say, what would a healthy person do? So if it comes to it's 7 o'clock at night and you're tired and you say, let me just sit down and have a couple, 3 glasses of wine. One thing that you might ask yourself is, what a healthy person choose 3 glasses of wine to unwind for the evening? Because if you choose the identity of a healthy person, then you choose the actions of a healthy person. And you might say, actually, a healthy person, instead of having 3 glasses of wine while watching TV, might actually go meditate, right? They would choose a different action because the action aligns with their identity. And so we know so much about the fact that people's actions are intended to align with their identity. So that's what the I stands for. So we had ACTI, we just talked about. O is ownership. And so I think this one is really an interesting piece. So when we consider accountability, right? Accountability, and we could have started the actions framework with A as accountability, but we didn't want to do that because accountability often for most people is an external force providing you some momentum to do what's supposed to be right. Oh, somebody's watching me, or somebody's going to ask, did I follow through? Right. That's accountability. That's external. What we use is actually, and that's fine for sure. But O in our actions framework stands for ownership. So one taking ownership of following through for themselves. And so that's an inward to outward generated experience rather than having some external force or person or expectation causing you to make, oh, air quotes, the right choice, right? So that's ACTIO, and then N stands for nutrition. And we know that ultimately nutrition is key because our body is designed. It's just amazing how our bodies run. And when you really get right down to it, it's a miracle. It's really a miracle. And we typically treat our bodies as though it's going to run on its own. But if we don't feed ourselves the most important and appropriate foods so that the chemical processes and the neurological processes all function, then we can't really be our healthiest. And what we also tell our clients is you want to pair that with your training because your nutrition supports your outcomes in the gym. That's what builds your muscle tissue. And that's really key. That's really key. So nutrition is obviously really key. And in much of Western society, but particularly the US and in the UK, we have people who are too overfed and too undernourished. So nutrition is key. And then S stands for systems and sleep. And a quick example of a system would be, and I like to say this, if you get in your car and you drive to the store, then what you end up having is equipment that's ready to go. You just hop into the car and off you go. If instead you had to go out to your garage and you had to put the tires on and you had to connect the spark plug wires and then you had to put some gas in your car, the probability that you'd use your car regularly is zero. And so what's really important is that it allows you to not have to make a lot of decisions and you don't have to spend an inordinate amount of time deciding what to eat or where to work out or how to meditate. All of those have been organized for you because you've got a system for all of those. That's what the S stands for.
Are you working one-to-one or in group settings?
We do both. We do both. So some clients prefer to have one-to-one support, and we certainly honor that and love to work with them individually. And others find that it's necessary for them to enjoy the community, as the community that really is a part of a larger group. And so one of our groups is they have strength training 4 times a week, and that is so great because we just had that this morning at 6 o'clock. And they all show up and they all show up ready to work. And what's great about that is really becomes a piece of their system, right? They have equipment at home. They use dumbbells, bands. Some of them have, and many of them have graduated to barbells and plates, just like you would see in a big gym. They have these at home. So they don't have to go to the gym. They don't have to dress up as though you were going to the gym. You just get there, you turn on Zoom, and you see all of your friends on the screen, and they get to work out together, which is great.
It's really great, especially for 6 a.m. with different weather changes. And so you have online opportunities and in fitness center or
So online, and the online is actually comes in from the computer wherever. So Ryan or and I get together with folks, and the group workout is actually from the gym that's here on the premise. And so that makes it really quite easy for us to have a full functioning gym, and then people have their own equipment at home. And what we do is we create workout plans, and we help people get that organized by putting them on Google Sheets, and then they have the opportunity to keep track of their progress and increase in their strength as they go. And then we move to a new program about every 3 to 4 months.
and now we will speak a little bit about programs. You mentioned the importance of sketching on a broad spectrum of expertise, from psychology, coaching, and neuroscience to nutrition and exercise systems, as you say. How does this approach enhance the coaching and programs at Tiger Eye Live? What kind of programs are you offering?
Oh, that's such a good question. So we offer, for a while, we offered just nutrition, and that worked for many people. But what we found is that their progress was much more accelerated when they also said yes to strength training. So that's what we tend to do is combine both of those together. So in any one client's support, they get strength training, coaching, they get online content, and they get nutrition support. For some people, they like to have their external accountability, and so I look in their food journals several times a week, and though it can maybe seem like it's a little bit weird that somebody's looking at everything you're eating, for some people, they have found that's really helpful for them to start to make the right choices and to be more consistent in those choices. And then once they figure that out, then it's not quite so necessary for me to be as closely detailed into what they're doing. We have a program related to mindset and identity. That is, I think, fundamentally where most people are best off to start, because we often carry baggage inside, right? Or we hear in our head, you're not good enough, you never were able to do this. And for many people, what has happened is they've tried all of these programs from some other influencer or some other self help book, and it falls short and they fail. And then, or they lose weight but they haven't gotten stronger, and then they gain weight back, and they've created an even bigger problem for themselves. So we have people that come to us who have a need to work through the fact that these failures before do not mean that there are failures to come, that they can, in fact, be successful with the right methodologies, with the right support, with the right science. That can really be helpful for them. And so, as a quick example, I'll give you one here. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Emily, or whether this has happened to any of the guests who might be, or your viewers that might be listening, but it's the end of the day. You have gone to work, you've come home, have dinner, your children have homework, or they have gone to their sports programs or their piano lessons or whatever, right? You get the children to bed and it's 10 o'clock at night, and you think to yourself, wow, I deserve a treat. I deserve a treat. So I open up the freezer door and I get out the ice cream and I stand there at the freezer, just eating this ice cream, trying to soothe myself to say, I deserve that. I really deserve. Look how hard I worked and how responsible I was. I deserve that. In fact, it is true that you worked hard and you are responsible and you do deserve a treat and you do want to have a sense of fulfillment and kind of closure to your day. But what you in fact have done is, oh, let me just back up and say this. You have done damage. You have done damage. That's right. Because every action that we take is intended, whether we pay attention to it or not, if it's subliminal, every action we take is designed to solve some kind of a problem that we have or fulfill a desire that we have. And what's really important is to get into the mind and say, wait, is this what a healthy person would or should do? Because you're exactly right. That creates damage in the body. What we think of as stress, chronic stress, not acute stress, but chronic stress, is in fact inflicted from the world around us outside, but it's also in big ways created by what we eat because we create damage, we create inflammation when we eat the wrong things on a really regular basis.
Are you working with obese clients who coming to you already obese, overweight?
Yeah, we do have people that are significantly overweight. And I will tell you that we also have clients who are not overweight, but they come to us and they say, I may look like I'm not unhealthy, but in fact, I know that I'm not healthy. And it could be from medical tests. I know that I have high blood pressure. I know that I have low muscle mass, or I know that I have low bone density. So I have physical test results that show that I myself am not as healthy as I might appear from the outside. And that's a key factor too, is it's and let me just say this about appearance. One of the things that has happened for lots of our clients is they've come to learn that if you chase your appearance, so if you have gone on a diet to try to lose weight and then you get thinner, but you don't add muscle, so you're thinner and flabbier, that feels as though, "Oh, I just it didn't really work for me. It didn't get to the look that I was looking for." And what we say is, if you, in fact, work on building muscle and eating nutritiously and not restricting in a way that feels very constricting, that you actually end up with a better body look and shape anyway. It's just as a nice added outcome. But what we don't do is we don't have our clients take before and after pictures with sometimes it can feel embarrassing, especially we work with accomplished professionals who clearly don't, even if we covered their face, somebody might recognize them from their outfit or whatever. We don't want people to feel as though they have to have their body as an example of before and after because so many of these fitness people, they have the six pack abs. So you want to get bikini ready for the beach. Our clients are not looking for things like that. They're looking for, I want to be functionally healthy. I want to be able to take active vacations. I want to be able to pick up my grandchildren and play with them. I want to be able to do all of the things I want to do. I want to attract the clients that I want to attract so I have the right amount of energy. So it's really so much less about appearance.
What is the most unexpected lesson you learn about human resilience and potential that you'd like to pass on to those contemplating a significant career change or lifestyle change, especially in their midlife?
Ah, that it's never too late. Absolutely. It is never too late. And I think one of the key factors in this is to say we have accepted clients who were 70 when they started with us. And if you think about it, the probability that you would at 65, 70, 55, pick whatever number people are, right? That you might decide to be a competitive basketball player. I would say it's probably close to 0, right? People would say, "I'm not gonna do that," or that, "I'm gonna swim the English Channel," right? You're probably not gonna do that. But strength training is for everybody. And what our clients know is that there are really important ways to track progress and to be able to very slowly, very precisely move one's ability forward. And we don't have everybody on the same weights. We don't have everybody on the same reps, for example. Some people have to modify things a little bit because of their mobility. So everybody is comparing themselves to what they were last week or what they were 3 days ago. And the intention is to say, I may not have increased this week, but I haven't slid back. And for most people, over the long period of time, they look at this and they say, look at the changes that have happened to me. This is amazing. And so that's another point about how we work that's different is, and as coaches who have been working on our own social media and our own website and all that, we have been told by so many coaches that you need to say, we can get you X results in 2 months, right? Lose 20 pounds in 2 months or lose 15 pounds in 6 weeks. In fact, as Ryan will say, it's just such a brilliant point, right? Anything worth working on takes time, right? You didn't get your college degree in 5 months. You didn't get a graduate degree in 3 weeks. You didn't get a promotion at the company that you worked for in 5 meetings. This just does not make any sense. So when we think about the fact of how are we different, we've struggled with people telling us, you need to say that things happen very fast. When in fact, things do happen fast, but to have something be long term and really committing to a future for yourself, it's just important work. But the thing about it is it's so gratifying and it's really so fun because when you go back and you look, where was I last month? And where was I in the month before? And where was I before that? It's mind blowing. It's really mind blowing. And so your point about transitions and resilience is it's never too late. In fact, the best time to get started was probably several years ago, but the next best time is today, right? Today. Today is the next best time to get started.
Great. And let's speak about your nutrition philosophy. As far as I know, whatever I read, your programs discuss fostering a positive relationship with food without stringent meal plans. What core principles do you teach about nutrition, and why do you believe in avoiding restrictive diets, which you mentioned a little bit, but please elaborate.
Oh, okay. Let me start with the restrictive diets and then I'll talk to you some more about the basics, right? What we think about is what is it that you can add into your nutrition that supports your body and your mind being its healthiest? What can you add? And inevitably, if it's also balanced with how hungry are you, if you're adding nutritious foods to your diet, you're going to not have room for some of these things that feel very compelling, right? Bags of chips and back to the ice cream or whatever. Filling your plate with nutritious food is what your body was designed to have. It's how our bodies run, it's how our minds work. And in fact, what we know is a lot of studies are coming out to say that the crisis that we have with our mental health is in part related to the fact that we don't eat nutritious foods. So it's not just technology, it's not just a lot of stress. It's in fact, we are not giving our bodies what it needs to run properly. Because at the very microscopic level, there is a science to how a body's able to generate energy to get through the day and to do all the things that it does. So then when you come to, so what are some of the specifics? What I would tell you is the most important macronutrient. So there's three macronutrients. There's protein, fat, and carbs. And each one has had its limelight to be, oh, this is the one to focus on, to do more, have more of or less of, is protein. And so protein is the building blocks, includes the building blocks of their amino acids of almost everything that happens in our body. It helps build your muscle tissue. It helps with your bone. It creates your bones. It just goes on and on. Your enzymes, your organs, all of these are really necessary pieces of how we run our body, and that runs on protein. So you should have adequate amount of protein. What we tell people is that you should strive for 1 gram of protein for every pound of ideal body weight. So let's say you weigh 150 pounds and you really think you should weigh 140 pounds. Then what you would do is you would eat 140 grams of protein per day and sort of space that out throughout the day. That's really a good way to have your protein. Another thing that is really important is to have fiber because fiber helps feed the bacteria in your microbiome. We all have heard about the microbiome. And so fiber is really important for that. And it's important for your intestines, lower intestines, your colon, all of that is really important. Having enough water is key. And then having electrolytes to help, really if you think about how the brain works, it's a lot of electricity that's going on. And so those ions, the electrolytes actually help run the neurotransmitters and the connections between all of the neurons themselves. So those are really important. The vegetables, the protein, the water, And there's a number of other things. Some supplements are really very helpful to have enough omega-3 fatty acids and so forth, and have enough vitamin D and vitamin K and so forth. But we know that people, when they come to us and they say they want to get healthier, if we told them you need to eat A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and do this repetitively, some people are just not excited about repetition, and some people find it comforting, right? So there's that level of, where is anybody on the, I want it to be easy and I want it to be repeatable, versus I want it to be novel and I want it to be exciting, right? People have this different balance for themselves. We have people that have food intolerances. I am one of those people. We have people that have cultural expectations for what they do and don't eat, right? And then people have food aversion. Some people, it has to do with texture. Like, how does that feel in my mouth, right? Or some people feel everybody has lots of reasons for choosing their nutritional path that they have. And so what we help people do is make the best choices that help their body with accommodating all of these other factors that come into it. So we would never tell people you must eat these 5 things or you must leave these several things out. There are a number of things that I recommend to clients that I say, you'd be better off not to eat that, because it's not like it's all just good or bad. It's, this is better than that, and this is better than that, and this is better than that, right? So there's shades of choosing the best quality in what you choose to eat. But what I would say is really most helpful, if you're trying to decide what should I have, is it something that you can trace back to its source, right? Does this apple look like an apple, or is it apple sauce, or is it apple juice? Or you can think of any one of these items, right, and say, where did that come from? And if it's a highly palatable, highly processed food, it's not really a food; it's a commodity, right? They stripped things off of that so that it would. We hear about the McDonald's hamburgers, right? That you sit on the shelf for 5 or 10 or 20 years, right? They have, in a lot of cases, be able to make money, have stripped the nutritional value out of foods so that they have a long shelf life. And so that's just really not what you want to eat. And we know that if we eat foods that are hyper palatable, it causes us these cravings to eat more and more of those. And that's just, then that's when we really become overfed and undernourished. You want to avoid those.